Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Terry Walsh. It's Wednesday, June 10th. I'm glad to see you today. This is our weekly Wednesday update for all the activities that we've been going through for the past week since last Wednesday. This gives me an opportunity to give you an update on our COVID-19 status, our financial status as well, and a couple of other things that I think you will find of interest as I go through this list. As we've mentioned on our website, if you get on our website at friendshipvillagestl.com, you may know that as of last Friday, so a few days ago, last Friday, both campuses became COVID-free, COVID-19 free on both campuses. Again, we have effectively eradicated the COVID-19 coronavirus from both of the campuses effective last Friday. We don't have any residents in the village care centers or in assisted living or in independent living who are active for COVID-19. Now, we've had residents obviously who've had COVID-19, particularly in our care centers, but they've recovered, they've moved back to their normal accommodations. We've had a couple of residents, most recently one at each campus, who we weren't sure if they had COVID-19 or not. Their lab results came back inconclusive or mixed messages, so we would put them on quarantine anyway, just strictly for observation for our own benefit to make sure that they didn't have any COVID-19 symptoms. Neither one of them actually did develop COVID-19 symptoms, and by the time that you see this video, each of those individuals, the one on each campus, will have ended that observational period and gone back into the general population in their care center. So literally, since last Friday, and as of right now, Friendship Villages has eradicated COVID-19 from the campuses, and we have no residents at any level of care on either campus that have COVID-19 coronavirus. That's a great news story for us. We've done a good job. Our team has done a great job of taking care of those who've had it and helping them recover, and then also helping avoid it. And I have to thank all of you as well as independent living residents for your cooperation and your diligence in sticking to all of our protocols to prevent bringing the COVID-19 virus on the campus, which includes our no visitor policy. It includes wearing your masks and using hand sanitizer or washing your hands very frequently, making no contact with others, and maintaining your social distancing. So I want to thank you for your participation in us eradicating that. I don't know if you knew, but on the news on Monday, the entire country of New Zealand was also able to tout that they had eradicated COVID-19 from their entire country, which of course is an island country in the South Pacific. But as of Monday, they had eradicated COVID-19 from the entire country of New Zealand. So we're literally right there with the country of New Zealand. We've eradicated COVID-19 also on both Friendship Villages here in St. Louis. We're very happy about that. We know that the war's not over. Just because we don't have it now and we've gotten literally back to zero COVID-19 on our campuses, it doesn't mean it still can't come back. It doesn't mean that we may not have an employee or one of you or a visitor, a family member, even though visiting outside, or a supplier or a vendor could potentially bring it back on campus. So all of those protective measures that we're taking and you're taking are still very important for us to continue exercising. So I ask you to continue using your masks when you're outside of your living units. If you're outside walking around, walking for exercise, enjoying the sun, and you're not with somebody, you don't need to wear your mask. But if you are walking shoulder to shoulder with your spouse or a friend or someone else, you do need to wear your mask to protect against either spreading COVID-19 or getting it from someone else. So I ask you to continue doing that. We can't let up. We have essentially won the battle, but the war is not over. So I have to ask everyone to continue doing those sorts of things. But overall, we're great in our current status. We've eradicated it. I have to thank everyone for that. It takes a village to do that. Our staff working very hard. Our residents in the care centers have done a great job recovering and doing the things that they need to do to try to rid themselves of the COVID-19 coronavirus. The multidisciplinary care teams in the care center that include not just the nursing staff, but food service and housekeeping and the chaplains and everybody else to help all of those aspects of health and wellness to be able to resist and fight the COVID-19 virus. So I want to thank everybody for doing that. I know that our restrictions have been difficult. They've been going on now for 2.5 months. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we were able to relax the no visitor policy and allow you to have visitors come visit you on the campus, but only remaining outside. And the weather's getting hot now. It's starting to be a little harder to do that sort of a thing, but that still remains the rule. We still cannot have visitors inside the buildings on our campuses. So I have to ask you to continue doing that. One of the great things I do want to tell you though is we are, and this is late breaking news, we are about to relax a couple of other restrictions beginning this Saturday, which is June 13th. So on Saturday, June 13th, there will be a couple of things you'll be able to begin doing again that I think you're going to find a good thing, a good action for us to take. On Saturday, June 13th, beginning that day, we are no longer going to have restrictions on what we've been calling non-essential trips off the campus. So beginning Saturday, we are no longer going to ask you to restrict your visits off campus for personal business that you have to attend to, for a place to get your hair cut, to go to the bank, to do any of the things that you've been wanting to do, to get out into the community, to do the things that you've been restricted from doing. Those are all lifted as far as Saturday, June 13th goes. So there will be no longer any restrictions from us or encouragement from us for you to hold back in leaving the campus to do the things that you've been needing to do for quite some time now. So we are relaxing that restriction. Now, honestly, some of you have been doing things off campus anyway. We know that. No secrets are safe. But for those of you that have been really strictly adhering to our protocols and our suggestions and our requirements, essentially, to try to reduce your non-essential trips off the campus, those are no longer necessary. We feel that it's safe enough now and that the residents and you know how to keep yourself away from people who have COVID-19 or not knowing that they have it. You know to wear your mask, you know to use hand sanitizer frequently, you know to not make contact with anyone, and you know to maintain your social distancing. So we are no longer in the business of discouraging you from going about your business off campus if that's what you like. And that will begin on Saturday, this Saturday, June 13th. So that's one of the restrictions we're lifting. And we're really excited about being able to do that. The second restriction that we're lifting beginning Saturday is for brand new residents who have moved in will no longer, beginning Saturday, no longer be required to quarantine in their new units for 14 days. So any new residents that have moved in that have been there for less than 14 days, their quarantine will end on Saturday. For any new residents that move in on Saturday or beyond will not have a 14-day quarantine period. We're not going to ask them to do that anymore. We are, of course, instructing everybody and highly encouraging everybody to continue, this is everybody, not just new residents, to continue wearing your masks when you're outside of your living units and when you're in common areas within the buildings, or even if you're in close proximity to others outside, but also to use hand sanitizer and wash your hands frequently, as you've been doing, to make no contact with anyone else, and to maintain your social distancing. So there will be no self-quarantining required anymore past Saturday, June 13th. You will be able to leave the campus with our blessing on Saturday to go get your haircut, to go to the grocery store, to go to the bank, to go visit your friends and family. You can go to their own home, to their homes, and visit the grandkids and the friends and the family that you've been longing to go visit for so long. We are not asking for that restriction anymore, beginning Saturday. So I'm excited to be able to announce that for you. It's still a risk. We all know that there's still a risk. Just because we've eradicated COVID-19 on our campuses, knock on wood, we've eradicated it for now. It could always come back. But we think that the risk is at a point now, and your ability to comply with the preventive measures that have been working have gotten to be adequate and sufficient enough now that we think that you will be able to protect yourselves if you make those trips. Remember, though, that you still need to monitor yourself for any signs or symptoms of COVID-19. You still need to monitor yourself, and if you think that you have any symptoms of COVID-19 at any point in time at all, you have got to contact Amy Meek for the Sunset Hills campus, or Michelle Dane if you're on the Chesterfield campus, to let them know that you may have a symptom of COVID-19 so that we can take immediate action to try to help you and also to prevent the spread. But that's what we're asking you to do. You're free on Saturday and beyond to go visit your families, your friends at their homes or a location of your choosing. You are still not able to bring them into our buildings. Now, you can still have visits on the campus outside, but we are still restricted as a senior living community from having visitors inside the building for now, but we are not prohibiting you from going to see them in their house or their homes or some other place if that's what you would like to do. All we ask is that when you come back, you continue to wear your mask. Hopefully you wear your mask there. Hopefully you hand sanitize there while you're at your relatives or friends' homes. And you know all these protocols. I'm not saying anything you don't already know. You should be doing the same things there that you do here to protect yourselves. We do not want you to bring something back that we don't want on the campus, even inadvertently. So I'm asking you to, even when you go visit your friends and family, wear your mask. Ask them to wear a mask. Use hand sanitizer frequently, and just be mindful of what you're doing. And then when you come back, of course, you still need to do all those things when you're on the campus here to maintain protection not only for yourself but for others around you, just to make sure that you didn't bring something back. And that's what we ask. It's no more difficult than that. But I think it's a welcome thing for you to be able to do that. You can leave the campus Saturday and beyond and go visit your friends and family as you wish, as you desire. All we ask is that you continue to do what you know you need to do to prevent contracting the COVID-19 coronavirus and from bringing it back to the campus. But when you come back to the campus, still maintain your social distancing and no contact and so on. We are beginning to think about what else we can loosen up inside the buildings and on campus as far as meals go, as far as other activities go. We are not there yet. But we know that this is going to be a welcome first step. We can't bring the families into your apartments or into your villas on the campus, but you can go see them. Because it's just one of you or two of you if you're married, and bringing back, hopefully minimizing anything you might be bringing back, as opposed to an entire family coming into the campus and milling around in the common areas and walking down the halls, and we don't know what might be coming with them at the time. So we want to still continue keeping that minimized and off the campus as much as we possibly can. But you going there and coming back by yourselves, we think is an acceptable risk at this point in time. Now, if we have a relapse and things begin to go haywire again, then we'll have to batten down the hatches again. but I don't anticipate that happening, and mostly because I know that you have learned and have begun to exercise very well the preventive measures that you've been doing with the masks and the social distancing and all that. That continues to be very important for all of us. So I encourage you and ask you to continue doing that. That is not going to change, but what does change is you can go visit your families with our blessing on beginning Saturday and beyond. But you know all of those protective measures that you need to take. One other thing that I want to go over with you, and this is going to be hard for me to show you on the video, is our financial status, and I'm going to have to hide my face while I try to show you this graph. But what you can see on the graph is this bottom point where my finger is where our budget was going to have us at the end of the year. So as you know, the end of the fiscal year it ends June 30th. So we're in the last month of the fiscal year right now. And so this bottom line is where we had projected to be by the end of June. What you see up here in the middle, and if you can see that, where the tip of my finger is where we think we're actually going to end up by the end of June. And this is just for Sunset Hills, where we think we're going to end up. So this is where the budget projected us to be. This is where we think we're actually going to end up. And we added at the top here, this very top line and dot where the tip of my finger is where we think we would have been if we did not have COVID-19. So as you know, with COVID-19, we have received some government funds for the direct costs that we've been spending on COVID-19, for all of that personal protective gear, for the hand sanitizer, for the staff who do the temperature screenings at the front doors, for the security guards we used to have at the entrance to the campus. All of those things were direct expenses for COVID-19, and the government has actually given us money to cover a lot of those costs. But what we've also had happen is, because we've had COVID-19 in the care center, we haven't been able to admit Medicare Part A residents directly from the hospitals as much as we normally have. We've been closed down because we had COVID-19 in the building. Even though it was controlled and contained to one unit, the state required us to stop admitting new residents or new patients under Medicare Part A in the care center. So we've had a little bit of reduced volume in the care center, and that's kind of what this top line reflects. If we had not had that temporary slowdown that we're still experiencing in the care center by having to close down admissions due to COVID-19, this top line is where we think we would have come in at the end of June if we had not had to slow down due to COVID-19. So we've had a very good year. This is where we budgeted. This is where we think we're actually going to come in. This is where we think we would have come in if we had not had COVID-19 slow down our business, particularly in the care center. So we've had a good year. We even had some expenses as we began starting up and hiring people for the new memory care unit at Fountain View, which we ended up not opening because we reserved that memory care unit for potential COVID-19 independent living residents. But we didn't do that, but we had already hired some of the staff. So we ate some expense when we hired that staff. Now, a lot of them have since attrited out, and we're getting ready to start it back up again and open memory care back up in July. But we had some expense. Had we not done that and delayed, we probably would have done even better because we wouldn't have had those expenses without the additional revenue coming into the memory care unit. So we may have done even better if we had not suspended the opening of the memory care unit because we did have some of the expense for the startup, and then we called it off because of COVID-19. So overall, we're finishing the year in a very strong position. We have not had our budget approved yet for FY21, so for fiscal year 21, which begins on July 1st and then goes through next June 30th. We've not had that budget approved by the board yet. Next year, during that fiscal year, FY21, we expect it to be a pretty tough year because we are going to begin accumulating startup expense for the new care center. As it gets ready to open, we've got to hire the staff. We're going to have additional property taxes to pay because those buildings are going to open during this course of the next fiscal year. So property tax is going to be higher. Our utilities bill is going to be higher because we have to begin air conditioning those buildings. We have to start sprinkling the grounds that are being landscaped right now. We've got to hire staff and get them trained up, and that takes a little bit of time to do. So all of those startup expenses are going to start building for the next several months before we begin putting new residents in those buildings, in the care center, for example. And so before that revenue builds, the expense is going to build. So we're going to have a tough year in FY21 because we've got to absorb those startup expenses before the revenue begins coming in. So we're already beginning to think of ways we can tighten our belts. We don't know what those are going to look like. We're presenting our budget to the board over the next couple of weeks to get their approval of things that we think we need to do. And we will let everybody know how that turns out as soon as we know. But right now we have budgets built, several different iterations of the budget, different options and alternatives for the board to look at and to approve. But I will tell you that no matter what gets approved, it's going to be a tough year next year while we try to minimize that hockey stick or the dip that we anticipate happening because of the startup expenses. We don't want that to go any deeper before the revenue begins coming in than we have to. So we want to try to make that as shallow as we possibly can. We're going to be tightening our belts a little bit probably in FY21. And then beyond that, the hockey stick begins going back up again because our buildings fill up and the revenue begins coming in and things look really good beyond that point. But we've got to get through the hockey stick, the bottom of the hockey stick, in FY21. So I just want to let you know that that's going to be the case. But in the meantime, we had a good year this year. It's about over. We've eradicated COVID-19 from the campus, and let's pray that that remains the case. I can't promise that we'll never get it on the campus again, but we're going to continue to do our best. It requires your help to do that. We can't stop you from getting COVID-19. Only you can help do that yourselves, and particularly if you're going to go out into the community and visit friends and family and get your hair cut and go to the grocery store and the bank and other places where other people are, the risk is there. And we have to rely on you to do the best you can to try and stay away from it. But I don't want you to be afraid of doing that. We are no longer pressing you to stay on campus and not go do the things that you need to do. You can go do those things. We're fine with that. If you are a brand new resident and you're not done with your 14-day quarantine yet, or you're going to be a new resident and you're worried about the 14-day quarantine, that all ends on Saturday. And I think that's going to be a good news story. Everyone is going to be kind of on your own recognizance, essentially. So if you detect any symptoms of COVID-19, you've got to contact Amy Meek immediately and let her know so that we can take actions for that. But I think that's going to be exciting. We are beginning to work on other things that we'll be able to open up in the future, but there's some work to be done. There's still some regulations we have to wait for from the government to change before we can do some of the things that we want to be able to do. We can't just on our own decide to open up the dining rooms, for example. We've got to make sure that we are meeting the national standard of practice for communal dining again, and then how to do that in a safe way. So all of those things are being discussed right now. I know that we began working and opening up some of our spiritual care opportunities over the past week or two. That's going very well. I know Bobby and her team are working in and have been doing some things for social life and activities for you, trying to remain within the 10-person limit on gathering, still maintaining masks and all those sorts of things. And I know that she's begun bus rides and things to the grocery stores and to get haircuts while still trying to maintain social distancing on the bus. That has to continue for a little while, but we'll be able to see in the near future what we can begin loosening up a little more. I hope this is good news for you. I think it is. The same thing is happening in Chesterfield on the same schedule. I think this gives you an opportunity to call your families and have them invite you over for dinner on Saturday night, if that's what you want to do, or Sunday, or to go to church if your church is open. I know my church isn't open yet. It's still online. It's going to open in a few weeks, but I hope that you feel comfortable being able to do that. I just don't want you to feel too comfortable and not protect yourself as you know you should do. But I hope that this is good and welcome news for you. It's exciting to me. And hopefully this time next week when I give you our report again, we will be able to continue to say that we don't have any COVID-19 on our campuses. We certainly don't want to ruin it or spoil it, and I don't want to jinx us now by even saying that. But it's true, and I think we should say it because you've earned it. You've worked hard to prevent it. You've gone through a lot of sacrifice to try to keep that COVID-19 virus off of the campus, and I appreciate that. And I want you to know that I appreciate that. It has not been fun or easy, and I know that, and I feel that with you, and I want to thank you for your efforts in doing that. And let's celebrate a little bit. We've eradicated it, even for a brief period of time, and let's hope it's permanent. But even if it's only for a brief period of time, it's certainly something to celebrate. And we can thank our good Lord Jesus Christ for bringing us to this point where we can celebrate and know that not a single person on either campus has COVID-19 right now, and that's been the case since last Friday. I hope you have a great rest of the week. I'll do this again next Wednesday. At some point, we will not be doing these videos because we'll be able to gather again in the ballroom. But for the rest of this month, I will be doing these Wednesday videos. The morning videos, the very short videos that I do in the mornings, will probably continue for the rest of this week, but I will probably not be doing those any longer beginning next Monday, or probably Saturday, because there's not a lot to report anymore if we don't have COVID-19. But we will make sure that you are continuing to be informed of all the restrictions. We will be placing in your mailbox before the end of the day, Thursday, the rules for the new restrictions, or what we're loosening up on those restrictions. So we will give you that in writing in your in-house mailbox before the end of the day on Thursday, just so you understand what we've done and what I'm saying to you now, you have it in writing so that you know what to do. I hope you have a great day. Hope you have a good rest of the week, and I'll talk to you later. Bye now.